Good morning and welcome to Sun Up on 7. My beautiful people out there. And yes, Michelle, raining all the way from beautiful Belize City, which down the street. But before we get into our couch talk, you know, we have to bring you the weather, and it's courtesy of the Belize Met Service.
Good evening. A light easterly airflow dominates the weather and will support partly cloudy skies tonight and sunny skies with cloudy spells tomorrow. Showers or thunderstorms will be isolated. This will continue Thursday night and Friday morning. Then showers and thunderstorms will increase firstly over southern areas Friday afternoon and across the country by Friday evening as moisture increases over the area. Winds tonight will blow from the east 5 to 15 knots, and this will produce light chop seeds. Low tides occur at 9:42 tonight and 11:18 tomorrow morning. High tides follow at 3:54 tomorrow morning and 5:11 tomorrow evening. Temperatures tonight drop to lows of 66 Fahrenheit up in the Maya Mountains, 72 inland, and 80 along the coast. The moon comes up at 11:58 tonight and the sun at 5:28 tomorrow morning. In the sargassum forecast, there continues to be a medium to high chance that more sargassum mats could affect beaches across the country during the next few days. In the tropical weather outlook, tropical cyclone formation is not expected in the North Atlantic, Caribbean Sea, or Gulf of Mexico during the next 48 hours. And that's the latest from the Belize Weather Bureau. Do have a pleasant evening.
And that is our weather.
Yes, I mean, just like that. But yes, Renata, so I excited for this first topic. I'm excited because finally, after 4 months, here we are, guys. Happy to report that the fugitive, you could call her, Christon Rocha, has been caught. And for those who don't know the story, 4 months ago, it was aired on Channel 7, and a graphic video came out where it showed this Christon Rocha basically
assaulting.
That's worse than assault. That's harming. That's inflicting stab wounds into his common law wife. And here we have pictures of that there. But since then, this wanted poster has been out. People have been looking for him. And the unfortunate victim, Miss Vanessa, she had to actually go into a safe house, leaving her kids behind.
Her 3 children.
Yes.
This was 3 children.
3 children
Vanessa
behind. Could not work, could not do anything because she feared her life. She felt like if this person is still on the run, she would have to be walking every minute with her eyes behind her back, just complete awareness of her surroundings.
Which she had good rights to believe that because
definitely.
He looked for her at her workplace.
Yes.
He would try to find her in places and assault her. Big deal life.
Yeah.
So had all right to think that way.
Apart from that, a month ago, she said, I can't do this anymore. I need to go back to work. I need to provide for my children. So she did that. She had a support system behind her. But when she got the call yesterday, or the message yesterday on her phone that he has finally been caught way in Biscayne Village on the Northern Highway, people. And just by fluke too, because somebody was passing in a vehicle, saw who they believed to be him, stopped the vehicle, reversed, and saw him. And even so, a chase ensued, and they eventually caught him. So he is currently imprisoned right now, waiting for charges now, no?
Yes.
But yesterday in the interview with Cherise, I was so happy to see a smile on Vanessa's face.
It was a big smile going in. I think that sense of just, wow, I can relax. Like, I am safe. I don't have to be worried because I always, and from the story broke out and we know she had to go, be hidden and everything. My heart was just so aching for her because to know that she can't be around her children, that was tearing her apart.
Yeah.
To the point that she's like, you know what? I need to go out there. I need to do my job. I love my job. I love what I do, and I miss my children. And what's so important to her as well that she mentioned about her support system. She always had somebody with her, whether she's walking on the street or so on. It was to the point too that she didn't even know if maybe he could send somebody for her.
Right. So she still has that little fear left behind because, yes, we know that in terms like these, there's 2 sides. people might not necessarily agree. Oh, you lock up my brother, you lock up my family or something like that. Would they come after you for that? So she still has that fear, but for now, she has that ease of saying, you know what, he himself is behind bars.
And I think what's even more comforting, the person that spotted her was actually, spotted him, sorry, was actually her brother.
Brother, yeah.
And she even mentioned that in the interview that she's like, I feel like it would have to be somebody that knows his walk. Because that was, you know...
You could change up your appearance, everything like that.
But his walk and everything was like spotted. And I feel like the brother must have just feel what sense
just coming back from Orange Walk.
Well.
Could you imagine just coming back from Orange Walk? You see how perfect timing, how it adds up, how
God,
he just,
God
you know?
just working at that situation.
Yes.
And I'm just so thankful for you, Vanessa. Like, honestly, sending all the love to you because I know right now words can't even express how happy you are.
And I mean, to the children, I love the fact that she touched on the children being that, you know what, yes, this is your father. He will always be your father. But just understand why this has had to happen.
Yeah.
And
she mentioned that they're going to miss him and everything too as well. But she explained to them to a certain degree the situation to let them understand.
Yeah.
And I think that's very big too as well.
That's
an important
huge.
conversation many parents don't have, and they talk bad or so forth. And the way she was talking, it clearly shows that regardless of, you know, that bad blood, she doesn't talk bad about her partner to the kids. And that's the sense I was getting, that, you know, this is still their father. And again, immense respect for somebody, you know, going through that kind of turmoil, but to still say, no, I don't want to tarnish his name like that to my kids because that's their father. And that's such a, man, I respect her so much for that.
So, yeah, that's a great news. That's great news for this morning. I mean, to start that off.
Second, right?
Well, no, not the second. This one is so kind of very controversial as well. So,
nepotism. Excuse me.
What? Well, you said us now nepotism. What? Anyways,
sorry, can you continue?
So, in recent news, the father-in-law of Minister Henry Charles Usher was actually being in the run to be appointed as the chairman of the Constitution Reform Committee. No, leader of the, sorry, let me get this right. Dr. Leader of the opposition, he has objected to this because he's saying that, oh, come now, man, like, how you want to have your father-in-law, a big PUP, the farm, or to be the chairman of the Constitution Reform Committee when he has no background in constitutional law, no background in human rights, no background in any of these things. And you need somebody who's apolitical, who's not interested in politics. Hi, I'm not interested in politics. But yes, you can't have somebody who is for your party lead this very important committee because Constitution is the supreme law of the land.
To him, just lashing that in there.
Sorry?
That person that's the chairperson of the committee had to report to Minister Henry Charles Usher. So that's also a
father-in-law connections. Wait, there's a word for that, Renata? I'm not sure.
Begin to end?
Anyways, that we begin with
anyways,
end.
Yeah, for me, again, I always go by. Let me see the qualifications. Let me understand the reasoning behind this. Not just put people in our places, man. I really just over this culture of I'm just gonna put you there because you're somebody to me or whatever. Work for these spots, earn these spots because there's so many other qualified people that can go in different roles and capacities, you know. And we need to stop just uplift friend and family and all these things or colleague because you may do this to me or so hand wash hand or whatever it is. We need to move past that culture and understand. Let's work on merit. Because you've had this much experience, had this much educational background, have this much whatever it is on your belt, that's why you get into a position, into a role. So I know that when you're doing that role, I can expect transparency, accountability. I can expect the best work because you have the capacity to carry out this role. I'm not saying he doesn't, that's why. I'm just saying I want to see the reasoning behind it properly.
Right.
That's what I really want to see because we can't just put people in there and say, oh, I'll make this person do this. For what? For why? Explain to me why.
How? Yeah, so the objections are there. I mean, he voiced that like immediately upon hearing that. So people, we have yet to stay tuned to what happens from that. So this is the one that we that I was excited for again.
You get excited for that?
Yes, and it's law. It's just law for me, right? But convicted, a rapist has been convicted.
So it's Paul Jex Jr.
Paul Jex Jr. So if you've been living under a rock, I know I have for those times. That was 2015. I was just coming out of school. But the story is that this woman, I forgot her name. She has actually, I don't think they had her name here, but she and her husband and 2 children were at home. And there was a home invasion where they bound the husband and they bound the husband, yes. And
they bound the husband, beat him up.
And then they took her, one of the 7 armed men took her into a separate area and proceeded to rape her before her 1-year-old child. So during that ordeal, it being dark, the man had a covering over his face. In court, the victim could not testify to the identity of that man because he had his face covered. Now, thanks to DNA procedures and thanks to DNA evidence, apparently when the man was finished, he cleaned himself up on a towel, threw the towel aside. So when the police came and collected that, they sent that DNA to the States and they brought in a foreign analyst as well, DNA analyst. And on the stand, she testified that, yes, this matches Paul Jex Jr. I have absolutely no doubt that it is his DNA. And as such, that one thing caught him.
You know, I was so happy and like reading the story over because I could remember it because it was although it was a while back, I could remember the story clearly too because that was one of those stories that people were like, wow, the whole thing, the whole makeup was like crazy where she had to go outside. She heard a noise, saw her husband bounded, getting beaten up by several men. Then they take her and her 1-year-old child at that time, and there were 2 children, 1-year-old and 3-year-old. Imagine those ages seeing all of this happen, the trauma. Take them all the way upstairs and then decide to want to rape her. She refuses and then puts a gun to the 1-year-old's head. And then she still to try to be like, no, 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 and then proceeds to rape her in front of the 1-year-old child. And then decided to clean off herself and left it there. I was like, you know what? Now God work well.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm so happy. It took 5 years, so I'm not 5 years now.
2015, so 7 years.
7 years, yes. And took so long to get to this point. I could imagine just the run through of this case too as well. All of these things I think about, you know, when I look at the dates and see, you know, how many people involved, like, wow, it was a lot that took place to get to this point. And of course, you know, DNA, unless somebody to try tamper with this DNA or whatever, this is it. This is really it.
This is it. This link you 99.99%, buddy.
And this is what I'm so happy about. I remember when we had the forensic team on talking about, you know, how important it is to understand the importance of the DNA and how we're trying to get equipment to really, you know, train people, help people understand how to do this because we want to get to that point. This is what we talk about justice, guys, and how DNA really helps, you know, pushes that and solidifies the evidence that this person or the person will do it. It definitely does that. And I'm so happy for her, her children, her family in general, just to know that, you know what, although out of all of the men
some sort of justice was served.
Because I'm just thinking of, you know how mentally sick you probably have to be? You have to be, no problem, you have to be to put a gun to a 1-year-old's head. Let us start there. Never get into the rape part. Just put a gun to a 1-year-old's head, Brandon.
That's insane, yes. It's sick.
And then proceed to rape that 1-year-old's mother in front of. You know how, boy, I swear, the level of sickness what you need for that?
I mean,
therapy?
To rape somebody on a whole is just sick. I mean, the instance the other day with the 2 guys who raped the young girl, the 14-year-old, and they were charged the other day. One, they look out and the next one, come on, man, and on 2 separate occasions, oh no, stop it. Somebody asked, why possess men for rape? But I had to enlighten them that, you know what, they just want power. It's just
the authority that you feel like you
power.
have,
exactly.
that you feel like you own a woman's body, and that there's so many conversations to go by that. Why just the idea of owning a woman's body or telling a woman what she can do with her body makes people feel like they have the right over a woman, that they can take whatever they want from them. And it's a sick mentality. I pray for the mothers that, you know, have to raise up young boys in society right now. Teach them the value of consent. Teach them the value of understanding no in the midst of any situation. teach them really how to respect a woman, regardless of what she to wear or what she to do. No matter the situation, don't let them let down their guards and disrespect a woman. It's so important.
So, and this is we just had the conversation on Tuesday where we learned that more young men are enrolled in school. So I'm happy for that. From school, from the home, teach our young men to be better, to do better. Right.
And men out there that notice that women don't have that male figure in their life, try be one mentor to them, no? If you know better, try be a mentor. Our young men need it. There's so many households that lack a father figure. And I don't say that that is the one tool that makes a young man become whatever it is into the society, because I've known many young men that didn't have a father but are excellent gentlemen, right? But still, please lend a helping hand. This is what we always talk about, the community building. Fill in the void. Be that, be that guidance. They need it. Trust me, they need it. Be it. Don't look at the government, don't look at no NGO, don't look at all these other places to do it. You do it, man. Take it upon yourself and do it. So,
sentencing is on July 28th for this individual. Now, this is very interesting because remember the other day with the guy, I forgot his name, the one with the whole funeral home.
How?
No, the one with the funeral. I forgot his name. But sorry. Yes, he had mitigating factors there. He's outside of jail now, based on an application made by his attorney. But that involved mitigating factors, meaning that they lessen the sentence. Now, there's certain things called aggravating factors, which heighten your sentence. And I mean, aggravating factors go to a gun pointed to a 1-year-old's head, asking the woman for sex, denying, and then threatening the 1-year-old, and then still proceeding. Those are aggravating factors. So, buddy, whatever the minimum is, you're not getting that minimum. You are going high up in sentencing.
And I do want to agree with you, Charlotte, too. I understand that there are women, too, that are molesters. So, don't get me wrong, I do remember that there are women, we need to train the women to understand that, too, and not take advantage of young boys that want to try to fit in, that feel like, oh, an older woman is, interested in me. I feel, that whole macho thing where you have to lose your virginity to an older woman, all that stuff that happen. But definitely, we just need to teach our children, how to consent properly, how to understand that you have no right over any person at all. You only control yourself.
Exactly.
And there, whatever follows. You can only control your actions. Don't try to control others. It's so important that we try to understand that.
Right. So moving on to our last topic. So the change in our demographics after the amnesty program. What will it look like, people?
The thing is that's so interesting about this topic. I have so much to say about it, but of course we have to condense. I think even before amnesty, because we're talking about amnesty and we're making it seem like amnesty is the reason that all these people are here. Honey bun, people have been here from that kingdom come. They have been coming in. I bet you right now as we talk, somebody just right across the border, all right? It's so bad to say it just like that, but it's true. So I do not want us to blame amnesty for the change in demographics because I'm patiently waiting for the census to come out. I patiently wait because honestly, we're gonna see the changes. If you look around on a day-to-day basis, you go into parts of Cayo, you go into Orange Walk, you go anywhere to a certain degree, you will see that big mixture. And like we were talking about how there are a lot of Creole people that, have children with Hispanic people,
right.
And then they have that mixed baby too as well. That
you have Hispanics. You have Hispanics with Asian. You have with Creole. You have with Garifuna. I mean, we're a mixed culture people. But one thing that stands, we're all Belizean. Just look at that.
We're all Belizean. Yes. And so that's one thing what I really want people to not take away from the amnesty, because I think that we're looking at so much like, oh, we just bring in all these people. But no, I look at amnesty as a way of documentation. I look at it as a way of allowing people that are just kind of floating around to know that, you know what, no, you're here, you're taking up space.
Guess
you need
what?
to be
and you
able
need to pay your taxes.
Thank you.
You need to be a productive citizen.
Exactly.
Or, productive resident in some cases.
But I do understand where people come from. I do think that the changing demographics scares a lot of Belizeans, Creole specifically, and I could understand why the scare is. Because let's talk about the elephant in the room. A lot of people are afraid of the language barriers that come with having Hispanic people in our country.
Yeah.
Point blank, I know I'm shy, wrong it, I know I make it sound pretty or whatever it is, because people are afraid that, you know what, these people speak Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, I don't understand them. So how this changes the jobs.
Like I told you on that before you get to the jobs, is that I saw a comment which, like, somebody was fearful that we become a Latin American country.
But we are a Latin
Well,
American.
no, we're not. Because of our English, just because of our English speaking our first language. We are Central American.
Central
we're not
America is
Latin
first,
American.
yeah, sorry.
And I feel like the only reason why we're Caribbean is because English, and then we share some roots with the Caribbean, but for the most part, Mexico straight down the all Latin.
We're surrounded by all Spanish-speaking countries for the most part. So did you not think that people would come across into our border?
And mainland people.
It wasn't rocket
But
science.
yes,
We're not an island.
let's get to the jobs now, because that is something very important.
There's a fear. I do understand it. I've heard it by so many people that, I don't know Spanish like that, but somebody that does know Spanish is going to get a job over me. They're going to get the jobs in general. When you look at construction, people are like, they will hire the Hispanic person over hiring the Creole person because they feel like they're going to work harder. Let's go be honest, in a lot of cases, they do. So, you know what? I know what? I had a very blunt...
No, yeah, exactly. Not beat wrong the bush.
I not beat wrong the bush, because a lot of times, and I've seen it firsthand, in situations where they're two different. They started off with the Creole person, and the Creole person want to take 1 month or 6 weeks and so long to do a job. When they hired the Hispanic person, it done in 3 weeks. So I look at it, and so many times I hear the same thing. And so I feel like there is a fear. I understand it. I do think what we should be hammering down on and enforcing more, is just the need to learn English.
Yes.
I think that is my biggest qualm, to help people feel settled. Because it comes now as a thing where a lot of Blazans have to learn Spanish to adapt to the people coming in.
Jobs, like you said, you see it on all the applications or all the invites to apply for a job. Spanish speaking is either mandatory or a essential asset, essential asset. So a lot of our Creole people might not know Spanish. Yes, Spanish is compulsory in school, but let's be honest, people, and I will talk for myself here. Learning Spanish in school, that wasn't a part of my interest at that point. I mean, you have to learn this thing, and then you go as you progress in the different standards or different forms.
All the way to your bachelor's degree after.
All the way, right. But then every year is the same thing. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, D, E, F, E. But every year is the same thing, and it's repetitive, and repetition is learning, but I'm not interested. It wasn't until we had that lockdown in 2020, April, that I said, you know what, let me pick up this app and let me do it, because I could see it as an asset in my profession. And so that's how I learned a lot of my Spanish. Mind you, I could understand, but in verbalizing that back, I cannot. So that's where the practice comes in. But a lot of people don't share my interests, because either English, either Creole, I want to remain Creole, I want ban and dead Creole. People, here we are, we're getting into a bilingual type state, and it will be an asset for you. You could imagine now you actually have a competition against other persons, immigrants, if that may be, for jobs in your country, because they can speak Spanish, might struggle a little bit in English, but the point is they can get their way around.
Yeah.
They can get around. Now, writing is another thing. That is something that we need to focus on too. Writing, learning Spanish, but we need to know our English first.
Exactly. And again, that's why I could see that people get so, I think they get abrasive about just the idea of having migrants in, because they feel that they're going to run them out of jobs, they're going to run them out of everything, and it's going to be like they're taking over the country. And I understand. I feel like your concerns are valid because of how the workplace is set up, but I do want to implore people that, learn Spanish. I try my best to do my Duolingo and try to learn it too as well. But I do also want to push too as well for the people that are migrants to learn English, because I feel like no, and this is the thing that people get upset about, is that they feel they have to adapt more than than the migrants have to adapt to them. Mm-hmm. So you have these people coming in, and we have to force to learn this Spanish now instead of them learning English. So now I have to talk this because you're here, instead of you knowing that you're in Belize and our first language, our official language is English. So why don't you learn it first, then the Spanish comes afterwards, which I do totally understand completely. It's a valid valid concern, but I do also want to go and piggyback off what Brandon is saying. Guys, it's for your benefit as well. Even if the alicho, no words here and there.
Once you learn Spanish, ay, what you? But once you learn Spanish, Spanish I think is the second most spoken language, no, third most spoken language. Right, Asian, English, then Spanish.
So Mandarin is the first.
Right. I said
English.
Asian, thank you.
It's okay. Mandarin,
But
English, then it's
Spanish.
Spanish, yeah.
Right. You have a domination already across the world.
Yeah.
But Shelma Lynch, not Shelma Lynch, Belizean gal, the app that I use was Duolingo.
Yeah.
Renata just said it as well, and it's perfect.
It works really well.
It not teach you the kitchen Spanish way here on the street every day, but it teaches you the proper form of Spanish, so you could get about.
You get to write it out, and so
Yes,
we're gonna.
you get to learn to write the language.
You
because,
hear it.
like you made a brilliant point earlier, in our vehicle when we were coming, but there's a lot of people who know to talk Spanish but don't know how to write it. And I remember one time writing Spanish to somebody, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you know how to write it? I didn't know it was spelt this way or the words go that way." Yes, I do know how to write it too.
So very important, guys. All I have to say is I understand fears, but also a way to conquer fears is to step into discomfort and try to learn other things too as well. But it's a two-way street. I feel like there's a lot of people that have been forcing to go into the other way of forcing to learn Spanish,
Right.
so as compared to letting these people understand you're in my country.
Yeah.
And so now you need to learn English too as well. It's super important. So it's two ways that we need to adapt. We have to make it work for two ways. And then, of course, then definitely if two are way to learn, guess what? You are be bilingual for everything.
Exactly, production galore. We don't have to use that pigeon no more. We don't have to signal that the sky, el cielo es azul.
Un momento, por favor. We need to get to a commercial break.
Aha, sí, ve.
So, oh wow, look
Yes,
at this beautiful
sunrise.
sunrise.
Who is this from?
I don't know who it is from.
From
but-
Jules?
That Jules is
From, wait, what?
Jules, are you gonna do that?
Okay,
Wow.
I must have got a new camera, you know. I must have got on there.
Dang, that look
Wow.
good, man.
Okay.
What? Oh, you.
Okay, Jules.
I love it for you, honey bun. I love it for you. So, with that, guys, we're gonna go to our first commercial break. When we are back, I post to beg for something.
Wait for me.
Guys, if anybody wants to donate a really nice centerpiece here, I don't like this. I'm gonna ask Brandon. I am one of those people. I've always been one of those people that are in the class. You know, when there's the teachers, the kids that don't want to ask a question because they're afraid. I could never be that child. I will ask it. I don't care how it's sung. So I'm gonna ask, hey, if anybody has artistic skills too as well, we want to just bless our table. Oh yes, do the whole hand thing, right? With a next centerpiece. It could be anything. Be creative and bless us with something, guys. We wanted to be from a viewer because we really want to be able to connect again with you guys. We're really fond of this idea of just making sure that this Unupset has all that making of viewers. So yes, so we got that from a viewer too as well.
Before I lick down the candle.
Please don't lick down the candle because it don't can't put on fire no more. So.
Don't touch it, you might get burned.
Oh my goodness. So with that, we go to our first commercial break, and when we are back, babies, we're gonna be talking about the Mayan culture and looking specifically at women. So we're gonna be talking about that and breaking some barriers. Stay tuned for that exciting conversation. We'll be right back.